Si tú quieres aprender español este año, tienes que ver este video hasta el final. I'm Nate, I'm from Southern California, and I learned Spanish more than 11 years ago. So if you are interested in learning Spanish, you have come to the right place. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you need to do so that you can have confident conversations in Spanish without freezing up. La primera cosa que tienes que hacer para aprender español este año es use Duolingo. Now you might be thinking, what the heck? A Spanish teacher telling me to use Duolingo? I could have swore everyone said that Duolingo does not work. Now, here's the reality. Will you become fluent in Spanish using only Duolingo? Absolutely not. However, Duolingo has done an excellent job at gamifying the learning process and keeping people consistent. I always tell my students that the number one most important thing when it comes to learning Spanish is to be consistent. Because the reality is, you might think, great, I'm going to learn Spanish this year, I'm going to become fluent, I'm going to impress all my friends. But if you start off learning 2 hours a day, it's very likely that after 2 weeks of this, you're going to give up and burn out, right? You're not going to feel happy or excited about learning the language. But if you go slow and you're consistent and you can maintain that consistency for the rest of the year and for years to come, then you will be successful. So Duolingo will not make you fluent, but it is a fantastic supplement to your learning. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you my exact step-by-step learning plan that you can follow, and I'll show you how you can incorporate Duolingo into your daily routine. La próxima cosa que deberías hacer es use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is extremely popular and extremely useful. It's free, and it's essentially like having a free instant robot Spanish tutor. Now, I'll be honest with you, as someone who uses ChatGPT, it is unfortunately common that it will make mistakes or repeat itself over and over and over again. But if you have no one to practice with, if you don't have a lot of time, if you don't have a lot of financial resources to learn Spanish, ChatGPT is the best new learning resource if you want to become fluent in Spanish. And you can use it for basically everything. Grammar, you can have a conversation with it, you can have listening exercises, you can have it create quizzes. The possibilities are endless. I personally like using ChatGPT to make little quizzes that I can practice with. La próxima cosa que tienes que hacer es estudiar la gramática. Now, a lot of people do not want to study Spanish grammar, but I promise you, if you want to learn Spanish faster than 99% of everyone else learning Spanish on their own, then you need to study the grammar. Now, it's really not as scary as you might think, and here's a quick example. In Spanish, we have what is called the informal future, and this is how we speak in the future tense 95% of the time in Latin America. I live in Mexico, and I really hear this most times. It's not common that I hear what we call the simple future, which is a different future tense in Spanish. So for example, the basic formula for the informal future is as follows. Ir plus a plus infinitive. So in Spanish, the verb ir means to go. If we conjugate the verb ir into the present tense, then we would have voy, vas, va, vamos, and van. So I go, you go, we go, and so on. Then we do a, which is a preposition meaning to, and then we add any infinitive verb that we want. An infinitive verb is simply a verb that has not been conjugated, something like hablar, comer, or vivir. These are what we call infinitives because we have either AR, ER, or IR verbs in Spanish. So after learning this basic formula, you can now speak Spanish in the future tense. It really is that simple. So for example, voy a comer. I am going to eat. Vas a hablar. You are going to speak. Vamos a bailar. We are going to dance. All we need to do is learn new verbs and then plug them into our formula. It is that simple. And the analogy that I like to give my students is that you should build your house on rock and not sand. When you skip the grammar because you heard online that you didn't need to learn grammar, you are building your house on sand. You can get away with it in the beginning, but I promise you, the second you get to that intermediate level, it's all going to fall apart and you're going to struggle way more than the people who just studied a little bit of grammar. When it comes to learning grammar, you have many resources available to you. So something like a grammar book. Barbara Bregstein has very popular grammar books on Spanish. If you go to Amazon, you'll find a bunch of them there. They're very popular. Or if you're not a huge fan of learning from textbooks, you can join an online course or an online community. Shameless self-promotion, but if you click the link in the video description, you can check out our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Our goal is to help you have a 10-minute conversation in Spanish in 90 days without feeling unconfident. So you can check it out by clicking the link in the video description. Okay, so we're using Duolingo, we're using ChatGPT, we're learning grammar, and next we need to speak. It's interesting because speaking Spanish out in the real world or online with people is the number one thing that will make you fluent in Spanish the fastest, bar none. However, it's typically the thing that we do the least. The reason being, we don't have anyone to speak with, or we're just too nervous to speak with people. Maybe we also just feel like we're not ready to speak in Spanish with people. But if you want to become fluent this year in Spanish, then you need to speak the language as much as you can. If you have no one to speak with, no worries. Download a free app like Tandem or HelloTalk. These are free online language exchanges that you can participate in. So you help someone learn English and they help you learn Spanish. They can be hit or miss, which is why I typically recommend paid platforms like italki or Preply. These are platforms when you can go and pay a teacher a very reasonable hourly rate, $10, $15, $20 for a class, but it allows you to speak with someone who is only there to help you succeed at learning Spanish. Back in 2020, when I started posting YouTube videos on this channel about Spanish, my Spanish was okay, but now, looking back, my Spanish has become much better over the years. And the number one reason for that was simply because I started to speak way more. Es muy importante que hables español. Ahora, la próxima cosa que tienes que hacer para aprender español este año es escuchar al idioma. Listening to Spanish is a lot of fun, and one of my favorite ways to listen to Spanish is through music. Now, a very popular idea in the language learning community is the idea of comprehensible input, which said simply is simply listening to things that are slightly above your current level. And if you're not sure what is above your current level or what you should be listening to, then I simply recommend you listen to things that you enjoy listening to. So if you don't like listening to podcasts in English, then there's no need to do this in Spanish. However, if you enjoy listening to podcasts, well then listen to them in Spanish. Or if you love listening to music, listen to it in Spanish. What I typically tell my students is, hey, think about times when you can listen to Spanish. So maybe typically during your commutes, you listen to things in English, the radio, music, what have you. See if you can do that in Spanish. It's a simple substitute that will help you a lot. And you're not going to understand everything at first. That's totally normal. But as time goes on, you'll start learning new vocabulary, and whether you realize it or not, you'll actually be improving your own pronunciation. The next thing I recommend that you do if you want to learn Spanish this year is to find a community. Now, I know I talked about my academy earlier, but I gotta say, it is really awesome to see my students interacting with each other because recently, for example, I had a student reach out to me that said, hey, Nate, I'm feeling a bit unmotivated. I'm feeling a bit discouraged. And I don't know what to do. So I told them, hey, why don't you post something in the community and reach out to some of your fellow students? They made a post and it made them feel a lot better. Oh, right. It's normal to feel unmotivated or discouraged or confused at times. But if you have like-minded people around you, it is much more likely that you are going to succeed. Something that I always talk about is exercise. When you think about going to the gym, you're much more likely to go to the gym and have a good time going to the gym if you go with a friend or if you have a class that you like to go to and you have community. And maybe you don't have a physical Spanish-speaking community around you. If not, that's okay. Look for a community online, maybe a Discord community, maybe something like the Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Anything that you can do to have other like-minded people around you. And if you have the ability to go to in-person events with Spanish speakers, then please take advantage of that. A lot of my students come from places like California, Texas, and New York, where there are lots of Spanish speakers. So if this is you, I can almost guarantee that there will be Spanish-speaking events out in your community. Whether that's going to church with Spanish speakers or going to a language exchange in your city, seek out community opportunities. Ok, muy bien. Entonces, ya que sabemos más o menos qué es lo que tenemos que hacer, ahora necesitamos un plan, una rutina. So here's the exact easy 10-minute daily plan I would follow to learn Spanish this year. First, I would do 5 minutes per day of grammar. I know, grammar can be scary and it can be overwhelming, but trust me, you are doing yourself a huge favor by learning the grammar little by little now, because as your Spanish gets better, it is going to help you so much when you get to the intermediate and advanced levels. Remember, build your house on rock, not sand. After you've studied some grammar, do 5 minutes of speaking. Now, the reason that I'm giving you these very small amounts of time is because when trying to get into a new habit, if it's too unrealistic when it comes to the amount of time you need to spend, it's likely you'll get overwhelmed or you just won't get motivated to actually get around to doing the thing. But by keeping it simple and a small amount of time, you are much more likely to actually do it. And maybe 5 minutes is too much for you. Maybe you could say, hey, every day I'm going to speak 1 minute of Spanish. Whatever works best for you so that you can be consistent. Then, throughout the day, I would be using ChatGPT, I'd be talking to people in my community, I would be listening to the language. This is something that we'll just do throughout our day. And before going to sleep, I would use Duolingo to maintain that consistency, keep it light, and keep it fun. Now, all of this can be modified. It's not a strict plan that you need to follow. However, it is a simple and easy plan that you can follow so that you have higher odds of being successful. Pues ahí está. Así vas a aprender español este año. Let me know if this video helped you. Leave a comment down below letting me know why you want to learn Spanish this year. Y muchas gracias por ver este video. I know I've promoted the Academy already a few times this video, but if you're interested in learning Spanish from me, click the link in the video description to check out our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Muchas gracias y espero que tengas muy buen día. Hasta luego.